Let me clarify things which you don't want to be clarified. Uh, we have a thing that we want a medical person to do everything for us. It's natural that we do this. We expect a medical person to immediately fix us, and that's it. And so when we complain about it, your vision gets worse, wearing a minus lens falls on deaf ears. You still accept that. Now, I make measurements, but I always say refractive state, which means I personally make the measurement. This absolves any one medical person for anything that happens to me because I made the measurement. And I've been doing it for 15 years. It does not mean I'm better than anybody. In fact, it takes pretty strong resolve, commitment, the bold commitment of an engineer who believes that all eyes are dynamic, evolution designed that way, and they all are. But when you do the translation to medicine, nothing works. And that's why I post the remarks about Rupa. And what Rupa does is have them 20 inches. That's minus 2 diopters. You probably do that endlessly and keep your refraction positive. And she keeps them outdoors. And the kids talk about it. That will save them. Now, Rupa's making the measurements using what I call LensStar. And I use the classic Snellen test lenses. As an engineer, I'm measuring a refractive state. I do that to separate from medicine. So I figured this out, not that smart maybe, but in college as a designing control systems. And I just asked the questions, aren't all eyes at birth control systems? They must be. So my experiments are to establish that all fundamental eyes are dynamic at birth, or they are not dynamic at birth. That is an academic argument, has nothing to do with anything medicine. But when you use language that makes every eye defective by calling every refractive state an error, you've translated into medicine. Now, as you probably know, I was curious, and I was fortunate to be near Jacob Rafelson on vacation. I'd contacted him because of submariners developing myopia in submarines. And it seemed a perfect example. Just you're in a submarine, you're doing this, your refractive state changes plus to minus. Then you should wear a plus lens when you're in a submarine, if you have the motivation. So what Jacob Rafelson realized was that the plus lens, again, had to be the parents guided the kids wearing a plus. And I would say, Snellen, it's not medicine. Prevention is not medicine. As long as your refractive state is positive, it's not negative. I haven't cured anything because I have 20/20 and a positive refraction. And when I go for the DMV, I'll reading the 20/20 line, and I only need the 20/40 line. So Rafelson looked at the situation. He looked at the public, and the ignorant public walks in. What does the public get? They get a minus lens. And that's it. That ends the possibility of prevention in an engineering scientific format. So we know Jake Steiner was successful by his statement, -4. I had a friend of -4 diopters, Dennis Romich. And he read my book and talked, and he'd started wearing the plus, and his vision was looking pretty good. I said, well, Dennis, you gotta look at Snellen. And I had one, fortunately. And well, he wasn't there yet. I said, well, look at street lights, so forth. And it's pointless if you don't get to pass the DMV. So he, in fact, did go past the DMV after confirming at home. And then I got his prescription. This was for like more minus 4.5 diopters with some cylinder. And I'm saying, how did Dennis go from -4 to pass the DMV in what I'd say is probably about 9 months? Yeah, it doesn't change that fast. It just doesn't. It will change at maybe half diopter per year in both directions. So how do I explain that? Most obvious reason was he'd been overprescribed, constantly overprescribed. And that's why I personally measure my own refraction, because I don't know what the hell's going to happen if I go to an optometrist. They make their money impressing you with the strongest mind as possible. They never think you'll check yourself. As an engineer, that's why I must check myself. So whatever you're doing, whatever you think of me, it doesn't matter, because you don't really know me. And even Rupa knows you got to keep the nose off the book. And to me, that's keeping the nose off the book. If you don't understand it that way, the plus-up works if the parents understand it and get the kid to wear the plus the way I'm doing it. Or like Rupa, keeping kids' eyes at 20 inches. Rupa knows the problem is kids doing this. She doesn't understand the plus, but that's okay. I'm an engineer. I certainly understand the plus. And so as I departed from Jacob Rafelson House, he gave me books. I realized he's a genius to understand this issue to help his own children, and equally genius to understand the public was hopeless, because the public wants someone medical to tell them what to do. And until you draw that line and separate yourself from medicine that way and make your own measurements, you're not going to be successful. Yeah, Jake was successful. I think he passed the DMV. He should at least do that. It would help him and his own child to have the father looking at Snellen and confirming passing the DMV. As an engineer, I like tools, handy tools. And the one thing that would be nice is a Snellen on a cell phone. And put it up. Yes, I'm reading the 2040 line. So that means when I go for the DMV, I'll pass that line. That's not healthcare. It's engineering common sense. So when I ask a person to engineer, get a Snellen on your cell phone and see if you consistently read the Tumbleese, the 2060 line. I'm trying to find out where you are, but I'm really trying to get you to find out where you are by an objective measurement. And I know you're not going to do it. I would doubt if anybody's going to do it, and that's too bad. But I say, God bless Rupa Wong. She's trying to do it, but she's medical and she can't do it. Even Kaisa Vilakari didn't understand that the individual has to make the measurements. And that means engineering science. That means measure you yourself. And quite frankly, it means long-term plus flow error. Now, I published a study where the plus was used. And if it's used intelligently by you when you're 2040, no minus. But they have run a study. This was Francis Young. And they have of course, you get a plus study, minus on the top, plus on the bottom. But they throw the glasses at the kids, and the kids don't wear them. And they say, oh, the study failed. Well, it failed because the person didn't know what the hell he was doing. That's a guaranteed failure. Yet all their studies are run that way. The guy's a patient. You're not allowed to explain anything. You're not allowed to help him. You're not allowed to do anything. And that's the problem with medical studies. They all think the same way. They don't think you're intellectually competent to be suggested what to do on the basis of science and facts. So they don't tell you anything, and then nothing works. Rupa tells her kids, keep the nose off the page, and we'll succeed. What I'm doing is not medicine. It's not healthcare. But if you think that's the case, then you're going to fail because you don't want to understand. So I don't blame anybody. I blame myself for my own personal visual habits as a child, and nobody helped me. But that's okay. That's the past. I'm looking to the future where somebody can probably get out of 2060, but they'll have to get away from medicine and think for yourself analytically as an engineer. But even so, I can't make you do it. Nobody can. And nobody can make you successful. Add your own commentary. And that's how I learned about Jacob Rafelson and the public's total rejection of prevention from anybody who's medical. So don't stop asking them. They can't help you. Thank you.